Back, everyone. We're trying to bat 350 today. I don't know what show. No, I should start checking that. Let's just start checking what live stream this is. I know we hit 300 the other day with Johnny Chaos. That was cool. Didn't even plan that or anything. It just happened. Johnny Chaos happened to be on like number 300 exactly. And there's some, if you want to count it directly, maybe there's no, actually, all the live streams. That was all the live streams because I know sometimes there's streams that upload as videos or something happens to the stream or otherwise got to re-upload it. So it's actually probably larger than that number. So anyways, we're batting more than 300 today, 300 plus. Maybe we'll get to number 369, probably not by the end of the year, but maybe a couple months. We probably hit 369 somewhere through there, somewhere in spring. Be exciting 2024 for many reasons that we talked about here. It's definitely not financial advice in any way. However, we can speculate on a brighter future, perhaps, in the ecosystem. And I mean, it's not like it's not bright today. I mean, I know everyone's tired of hearing the potential. Things are, just wait 2 years, man. Just wait 2 years. I know I know that can get old after a while too. But that's a lot of red candle feelings. That's a lot of not being able to see the bigger picture, or just having a plan that's not based on any kind of delayed gratification or otherwise. So it's what we do here in this ecosystem. And today I got Kong back on the show. He's always bringing some cool stuff to talk about, and you want to go through Icosa today. I know that a lot of people love Icosa, and a lot of people are interested in hearing about it. We already got Titan X here talking about the wreckness. I mean, to be fair, I think everything's wrecked. If you're going to apply that Icosa is maybe more interesting than some Hedron and them too. But yeah, don't they? A lot of common knowledge is they follow the HEX price. HEX went way down. We're not going to go through all the reasons for that. But will it be forever? I don't know. Will it be forever? You can place your bets accordingly. Everyone has their own ideas there. What's up, Red Squirrel? Ted Nelson, welcome. Yeah, share the link. Get some people in here. We're going to go for probably 45, 55 minutes, something like that, maybe just under an hour. And then we're going to get on with our day and enjoy real life. That's what we're going to do after get some information here. So without further ado, welcome back to the show, Crypto Kong.
What's going on, everyone? How's everyone doing?
This is not Crypto Mason. I know they look similar. However, not Crypto Mason. Is that right?
Yeah, don't be mistaken with me as Crypto Mason. I believe he likes to do more of like the centralized exchange stuff. He likes all of like the ISO 22 coins. But over here, I think we prefer like the DeFi, like native, hold your own keys, let's say. I don't think you hold your own coins anymore. But yeah, let's not mistake me for Mr. Crypto Mason,
Only if he says something good. Otherwise, yeah. Kong is the DeFi. Are you the DeFi flavor of Mason, or is Mason the centralized flavor of you?
That's a really good question. I'd have to do more research on that.
You have to DYOR and figure that out. That's
Yeah.
that could be a whole stream in and of itself.
Yeah, that could be an entire episode.
So what's going on, man? How are things in the ether system? The pulse. I want to say like the ether webs or the ether in general, but do we gotta say how are things in the pulse now? How are things in the pulse system?
In the pulse system, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean everything's kind of been, I guess you could say, good for the most part. Like no really big vulnerabilities. Like everything's still running with perfect uptime. I mean the price charts are a bit wrecked, but I mean I think since the last time we've been on the show, we've had a nice little comeback in the charts, which is really nice to see as well. But yeah, I wanted to go like full circle back here on Icosa because I know Alex has his new sort of product planned out, and he has a pinned message in the Telegram, and I think we might go over some of that later as well. So
Definitely.
many people aren't paying attention. Even when Icosa was print yield and it was worth quite a bit, lots of people weren't really paying attention. But now that the price is down and the yield isn't as much as it used to be, and we'll go over that as well, I think it is a good opportunity to kind of like go contrary into the market because everyone's focused on like the new shiny objects because there's a lot of new projects over on the Pulse chain, like Pulse chain itself. You have PHEX, you have all the fame and fiat tokens, you have all the NFT platforms that are coming out, all the new dexes that are coming out. So there's a bunch of new stuff coming around Pulse Chain, and I think a lot of people, especially with the price being so down on Hedron Icosa, probably just like took their profits out, probably tried to like put into something else, like recoup some of their money back type of thing. Because I mean, the chart is it's not a pretty looking chart. Now, the good thing about kind of what Alex has planned is we are going to be migrating our coins. So when or if this new contract ever comes out, from what I understand so far, it is not like Pulse Chain where we got, I guess you could say, quote unquote, airdropped, but it wasn't really an airdrop where like your coins they're already in your wallet. That won't be the case for the Hedron upgrade. I'm 90% sure, 99% sure we'll have to go in there, basically transfer in or like interact with the contract with our old tokens to redeem the new ones. How the specifics of that are going to work, not exactly sure, but what this does mean is when we get a new token, we're going to have a new contract address. We're going to have a new chart. We're obviously going to have to get new liquidity and this and that. But I think Alex has a couple of things planned in terms of that. I'm not exactly sure after reading over his tweets, but I know some of the some protocols on I know Ethereum, you are able to stake your coins essentially, and they'll act like LP, so like SLP, stake to liquidity sort of thing. I'm not sure if maybe Alex will try and incorporate something like that with Hedron Icosa, where instead of like in our current system where you would stake your coins and they technically get burnt for stake points, maybe it gets provided as liquidity somehow to help like thicken up the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, it's interesting about the just going back to your point of things being down, people less interested. When Icosa first came out, the prices were, the yield was crazy. You're making, I'm looking at the thing and I'm like, wow, it's over like 100%, and it's only been like a few months or so. But that's the funny thing about money printers is you could talk about the game theory. You could say, okay, this new coin, whatever comes out, it's printing money, it's printing money. But if that money goes way down, people stop caring about how much money it's printing
Yep.
because the money in dollar terms is not worth as much. Is there something there where, for example, I think it's an interesting case with Icosa where the yield, and Hedron too, but Icosa, yield, it was seeded and it was like much bigger the first year, all that stuff. So a lot of people have all this Icosa that they've been getting as yield, and it looks like nothing right now. And then, are they going to get rid of it because it's not worth anything now? What if they hang on to it and the prices go back to where they were before, and then they realize all that? Like, how do you think some of that's going to shake out as far as people looking at it and just being like, oh, that money printer sucks? But what if money printer doesn't suck later on?
Exactly. So that's kind of the whole thing, and that's kind of what we're speculating on. And the money printer has kind of turned off now. So Icosa has inflationary and deflationary mechanics where it'll print lots of inflation when you have lots of people doing lots of volume in the HSI auctions, like trading in through the HSI buyback. But once all of those kind of auctions are cleared out, you're going to have sort of a disinflationary version of Icosa, potentially even deflationary, depending on how many people are staking. So in terms of the price appreciation, right now, we've earned some good yield. Obviously, you probably could have just sold short your coins and bought back a bigger bag later. But I mean, here's the thing. If Icosa, if it does decide to perform well, and like you were saying, like the coins aren't worth a lot now, but let's say these coins maybe even get 50% back to ceiling price, people could be a lot more incentivized to go and use that HSI buyback and maybe trade in some other HSIs. Maybe they got a deal somewhere, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One reason or another, they trade in their HSI, and that could actually kick off the yield in the Icosa system again and start printing you more coin, as well as if that Icosa price did reach near its ceiling, you would assume that it would have more value in USD, also more value relative in HEX, and assuming HEX has like maintained, it's like store value, right? You're going to be able to start not only keeping your original bag of Icosa that you yielded with, but let's say the yield and the money printer starts to kick back on. Once the price turns back on, you could start earning more yield on that. So right now, the system, it does not look good from like an outsider's perspective. But if you're still paying attention, if you know where these things could go, if you're, I guess you could say, bullish on Icosa potentially one day hitting the ceiling price or close to it in a bull market, you could see that inflation turn right back on and people start printing money again. And that'll happen when Icosa sort of is at a higher price, right, in terms of hex and probably in terms of US dollar, assuming that maybe we're in a good macro bull market condition. So
Hmm.
go ahead.
I was just going to say that's so the key is price go down. So the auctions, there's not as much going to auctions because people don't want to trade them in. Kind of price go down to affected this particular feedback loop and stuff more than maybe other ecosystems. That's why everything kind of looks depressed and it looks like it's not working, but it's like, well, the price is just down. That's why it's not working.
Exactly. That's the easiest way to put it probably. I see in the chat like my $2,500 Hedron bang sunk after PLS launched. I think that was a case with a lot of people, even with the Icosa got split in half. And then even now, like when EHEX was at a penny, I think last time that happened during the Pulse launch, Icosa was closer to like 12 cents, 10 cents, 8 cents at least. But now it's really slacking behind, and Hex is it's sort of it has pumped a lot, and it's leaving everything behind, even Pulse and PHEX to a certain extent for that first little gain. But we haven't seen Icosa and or Hedron enter a bull market, and they're also disgustingly cheap right now. Like I think you can get a billion Hedron for, I'll take a look at the price, but it is not that expensive currently. So yeah, a billion Hedron I think is about $128 right now on Ethereum and $143 on PulseChain. So before these would cost a couple of $1,000s. So prices have come down significantly. And to put it in perspective, if you wanted to mint a billion Hedron, it would cost you 180 T shares for 15 years, and you would have to wait out that entire duration to actually be able to mint all that Hedron. But you can pick it up right now on market for like 100 odd bucks. So our bags, yes, did sink a lot, but Alex hasn't posted any updates, so everyone's not really kind of paying attention. And if you kind of want to go contrary into the market, you don't need I don't think you need a huge bag size to get a quite decently sized position in this ecosystem. I could take a look at the exact numbers for like whale accounts, at least in Icosa right
Okay.
now. I'll take a look here. So yeah, right now Icosa, to make a whale account, I believe it's around 160,000, 178,000. So right now that would cost maybe 10 grand, 20 grand, 25 grand ish. So that's for a whale position in this ecosystem. Now, I'm not exactly sure how bullish everyone is on Icosa, and I don't exactly recommend buying a whale size position. That's not really for everyone. But to buy a whale size position in Hex, to buy a whale size position in PulseChain, to buy a whale size position in PulseX is a very, very expensive thing to do. So if you want to like own a percent of Icosa, it is relatively cheap comparatively to like the percent of the ecosystem you're getting. And the sort of thing happens time and time and time again, where if you own a fraction of a percent of some sort of coin or ecosystem and it ends up doing even mediocrely well, you could see insane returns on that because you own a whale size stack in that ecosystem, and that is a very hard it's not necessarily an easy thing to do to become a whale in an ecosystem. Even in Hex, I know they started out with like, I think 6,000 members in the Telegram, and that was during 2019, 2020. Ethereum gas fees were not that bad. I heard Richard Hart talking about potentially needing to build a layer one if Ethereum fees got out of control, and people would laugh at him for this idea. They would think he's like, "Why would we need a layer one? Like Ethereum gas fees aren't that expensive." But then the bull market came. You had the whole Pulse chain catalyst, And that's really what made Hex do a 10,000x. And if you went back to like, I guess, max depression, like bottom of the Hex chart, and you said, well, this coin's going to do a 10,000x. And the reason why is because the founder is going to raise, let's say, $1 billion in a sacrifice for a new layer one. No one would believe you. Everyone would look at you crazy. Ethereum gas fees weren't even an issue, so why would you need another layer one? And how would you raise $1 billion for it, right? But those were all catalysts for Hex doing a 10,000x. And if you predicted that from the very start, then you were probably on some like god tier stuff. But many people didn't, right? So
Shout
I
out to
think,
God.
yeah. So I think many people, we say this all the time in crypto, is we overestimate how low things can go, and we underestimate how high things can go as well. So there's always that kind of like duality there.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point too about just being able to, everyone has their different goals and things they want to do in crypto, and it's so much of it revolves around, oh, I want to get a coin, I want to go a bunch of X's, and I want to sell it. Like that's like the traditional common way of thinking about all this stuff. And it's interesting to think about it in the way of positions. Like I want to be, I see this coin, I see something new coming out. If you said, hey, I want to be a hex well back when it was super, super cheap. I mean, relatively speaking, it was super, super cheap when it first came out compared to what it did now. And you may think what it is now is cheap compared to other stuff too. But in any coin, Hedron, Icosa, Hex, like whatever it is, getting the position and saying, okay, based on this, like I want to be this position, the goal being this position, instead of goal being, I wanted to do this many X's. That's a cool thing to think about, because especially if your goal is to be a whale in one of these things, you're like, okay, I'm going to be a whale. I think this thing's going to go great. You don't even know how many X's that is, but it's probably a lot if it does well. So I like that like trying to, it's almost like a mental model of like positioning in crypto, part of an investment thesis type of thing of like, being an animal, being some
Yeah,
kind of position instead of the X's, which I don't think a lot of people cover.
I really like how our ecosystem kind of, I think we sort of started the whole like shark, whale, squid, crab, etc., etc., etc. I think we really like took that off, and I like that whole idea of framing it, because it's hard to kind of like, it's hard to know where your bag is sitting relative to other people, I guess, relative to like total supply, unless you sort of know these figures, and you know like 1% is a whale, or like 0.01% is this and 0.001% is that. And if you can like set targets for like accumulation, like I want to become a shark in this ecosystem, and you just set a target for that, and maybe you stop DCAing after, or you can continue to like just do whatever you want to do, right? But it is a good way to look at things, where if you own just a percent of an ecosystem, like a percent of Hex, percent of PulseChain, and it does significantly well, you will do significantly well just as a byproduct. So I mean, yeah, I see validator dashboard in here says long-term mindset is key. And I think that's absolutely right, man. Like in crypto, we see this time and time and time again. The longer you hold, traditionally, not in all cryptos, but in the ones that we're in, I hope, and like Bitcoin, Ethereum, the blue chips, they'll all make new all-time highs, and they all just keep on going up and to the right forever, right? Even some of the stocks and stuff, like the longer you hold them, the more returns you would have made for sure, right? Like if you have been holding stocks now for 20 plus years, you're up, if you were picking the right stocks, maybe thousands of percent, right? Whereas you wouldn't have made 1,000% in like 2 years in the stock market, unless like you're some sort of like I don't know anyone necessarily who's doing that, but maybe there is. So yeah, definitely things to look at. If I can share my screen here as well, Max,
Sure.
I'll pull up some stuff here. So this is the Icosa Hex sort of spreadsheet that I've made a little while back, and this sort of has a couple of different data points on it. So as we know, Icosa is sort of a derivative of Hex, and it's supposed to kind of match specifically the T share slash B share. So it's supposed to maintain at least some sort of value between Hex and that T share. So usually right now we're sitting at around. I could take a look at the chart. Let's go on to Dex Screener, pull up Icosa. We'll use the one on PulseChain, but over here, what we're going to do is we're going to switch the price in hex. And now what we're doing is, instead of denominating Icosa in US dollars, we're denominating it in hex. So Icosa right now costs 2.7 hex, not dollars, but hex. The ceiling price for Icosa, we can check over here on hex model. I think it's closer to like 50 right now. So over here, we're down 95% from the ARB ceiling, which is where you could create an HSI, send it into the buyback, mint Icosa, and sell your Icosa for a profit. That would be slightly above the ARB ceiling. The ARB ceiling is when you break even, essentially doing that, excluding like the gas fees and stuff. So right now, Icosa and hex, this ratio that we were just looking at on the DEX creator, from 2 could technically rise up to 50 before any sort of arbitrage opportunity will present itself. That doesn't mean that people aren't going to trade in their HSIs before it hits 50, but that just means that people aren't going to be able to necessarily arbitrage the price down before it hits 50 hex per Icosa. Now, currently, we're sitting pretty near the all-time lows of 2.7 hex per Icosa. We've never really seen the chart go this low in terms of hex. As you can see here, when PulseChain launched, we were sitting closer to like 15 hex per Icosa. But if we take a look over here at the spreadsheet, we could see this is the current hex price and this is the current Icosa price. I believe these are the Ethereum versions. And then these are kind of like theoretical T-share rates. I know we've sort of exceeded this now, but how it works is the higher the T-share rate is, the greater that ceiling price is. So if the T-share rate were to go to 50,000, we could input it here. So 50, 1, 2, 3. And you could see here the hex to Icosa ceiling will raise basically from 72 to 136. If the T-share rate were to, or when the T-share rate goes from 36,000 basically to about 50,000, ceiling price increases. So the lower the ceiling price is, or the lower the T-share rate is, the lower the ceiling price is, which gives you like a lower theoretical price for Icosa. So when we're looking at these theoretical prices, where if you want to keep them, I guess you could say more conservative, you can just use our current T-share rate for today, because once you use like 100,000 T-share rate, the ceiling price really starts to open up. And then even 95% down, which is where we are right now, we're still going to have like a pretty good US dollar value. But since the T-share rate is so high, that Icosa to hex ratio is going to be a lot higher. So it's just more conservative to keep a lower T-share rate, is basically just what I'm saying at the end of the day. So I'm not sure how bullish any of the viewers are on watching hex, but I'll try and keep these sort of numbers conservative, I guess you could say. 30 cents is still like 100x from the bottom, so I don't know how conservative that really is. But I mean, Richard says not that it's going to happen, but Hex did a 10,000x, PulseChain can do a 10,000x, and they're designed to do it. Whether they do or not is up to life and chance, but these things are well within the realm of possibility. So 30-cent Hex, I think Richard also said Hex could do a million X, which would put Hex somewhere at like $50 from the bottom or something like that. So 30-cent, kind of a huge price target, still conservative. Again, we're looking at sort of like bull market estimates here. So like, I'm not trying to go too crazy or anything like that, or like too bearish or anything like that too. But even here, 99% off the ceiling price at a 30-cent Hex at a extremely low T-share rate, which is lower than the one we have today, you would still see a Icosa price of 12 cents, which again, it's not as good as what Hex would do from here, right? And that would only give you a ratio of 0.41 Hex per Icosa, which is this. I don't necessarily know if this would ever happen. Especially some of this stuff could change when Alex releases his new product. When or if Alex releases his new product, some of these numbers could change. I think he's gonna start making the ceiling price like more dynamic in the system, so you're always able to sort of extract your value out in Icosa, but just some of it's staked. But that's sort of like a topic for a different day. Anyways, even if we're looking like 95%, which is basically where we are right now, and it can hold this level, right? There's basically, if there's people buying it, because everything is supply and demand, right? The only way the Icosa price is really going to go up is if people are buying it. There's Hart's law and liquidity bonding, but if we want like good X's, people will probably have to buy more than they sell. That's just a given. But even if we just maintain our ratio with Hex, well, with right now we were 2.7, and this is 95% off 2.29, and that still gives us a 69 cent Icosa if Hex reaches 30 cents in this bull market. And that's like, this is extremely, extremely, extremely conservative, right? And this is at a low ceiling price, and I'll show you why this matters. This is the HSI buyback calc. Actually, let's look at the ceiling price demonstration. So the reason why we have a ceiling price, I kind of went over this a little bit earlier, but the reason why we have a ceiling price, it's not a physical ceiling price. Like, there's not like some price god that has the price ceiling set there where like the price hits the ceiling price and then it can't go over. That's not how it works. There's a ceiling price in US dollar that's derived from the ceiling price in Hex times the US dollar price of Hex. So there's a few different ways of looking at it, but basically what it is your arbitrage, the arbitrage value you would get when they're basically when you could trade in your HSI and get an equivalent amount of Icosa in terms of the US dollar value. That would be your ceiling price. Now, if it goes over the ceiling price, you could create an HSI, trade it into Icosa, immediately sell your Icosa for a profit. That would be going over the ceiling price, and then that would be essentially arbitrage. But right now we're below the ceiling price. Now, basically how this is working is, let's say we had a 29,000 share rate, which is lower than today, 30 cent Hex price. The cost of a 555 T share would be around $2,900, and you would get around 210 Icosa per 555. So you sort of see the math here. Icosa, because one of the only ways you can bring it into existence, especially right now with the yield so low, is through this HSI buyback. So if people want to actually bring Icosa into existence, they could go off the market, which is a cheaper way to do it than the buyback right now. But eventually, if enough people want to purchase Icosa, or they want to get their hands on Icosa, they're gonna want to go off the market. And that's sort of the game theory behind it, is if you're below the ceiling price and you want the Icosa, you would go to the market. But if it's above the ceiling price and you want Icosa, you would go through the smart contract itself. So that's sort of like how you could picture this, is 210 Icosa you would mint from the smart contract for a 29,000 share rate 555 HSI, and 20% over the ceiling price of Icosa, your value that you would mint would be $3,400. So you could see, if imagine you had a $2,900 stake, you traded it in, you immediately got $3,500. You could sell it, right? That makes perfect sense. But 20% under, you could see, like, if you traded in $2,900 for $2,300, maybe you wanted to exit your stake. That was a better deal than emergency end staking, and you still got to extract some value out and you're happy. That's still good, right? But 99% below the ceiling price, this is when you're trading in essentially $3,000 for $30. So that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to do. And if people do that, it's probably extremely dumb. Maybe since it's a 5555, you would actually get more value out if you needed to end the stake doing it like this, just trading it into the buyback. But since the US dollar value of Icosa is so low right now, you would barely be able to extract any value. Plus 99% below the ceiling price. I'm not sure if we'd ever get this low. I guess it is possible. This is crypto. Things can go a lot lower than we expect, and they can go a lot higher than we expect. But this just goes to show like how relatively low Icosa would have to fall to get this minus 99% under the ceiling price. But even if we look at some different predictions, like if we were to increase the share rate, let's say to 40,000, and we take a look at minus 99%, it's still a 24 cent Icosa, which is probably pretty bad. But in the long run, plus if the yield the yield probably won't kick on if we're minus 99% below the ceiling price. But I mean, we're speculating here, and the thing about Icosa right now as well is, since we're so low below the ceiling price and Hex is so cheap, you can mint so much Icosa right now is one of the things. And since it's built upon, it's sort of derived from the T-share value, when the T-share is more expensive, Icosa is going to intrinsically just become more expensive. And when the T-share is cheap, Icosa is going to become, by sort of definition, more inflationary, less scarce, less sort of valuable. The way I could explain this is, let's say I had $10,000 of economic energy and I turned that all into T-shares. Since Hex is so low in price right now, I'd be able to get a lot of T-shares for my 10 grand of economic energy. And then if I traded that into the buyback, I would be able to inflate a lot more Icosa because I would have a lot more T-shares. Now, if fast forward into the future, let's say the T-share rate goes back to 10 grand per T-share, like 10 grand USD per T-share, then I would only be able to, like, for my 10 grand of economic energy that I was bringing into the system, I would only be able to like make one T-share. And then if I wanted to trade that into Icosa, I would only be able to mint one T-share worth of Icosa for that same amount of economic energy, just because the Hex price is either up or down. So Icosa, it has inflationary and deflationary mechanics depending on the prices of these other assets, but its main value, its intrinsic value, is derived from the T-share. And I could pull up some like outlandish things where even 99% off, you could see some insane gains. Plus, I'm not. We'll see what Alex has planned when he releases his thing. But one of the biggest things with staking Icosa was on Ethereum. The gas fees got out of control, especially just before PulseChain launched. It was like 200, 350, 100 Gwei, just like on average every single day. And to do all of the stakes, it was cheaper than Hex staking, but like the fees would start to add up. Now, what was nice about Icosa back then was the price was doing a lot better, so you would feel a lot better about being able to pay the gas fees on Ethereum. But now that the price isn't as good and we're down a lot more, I think Alex is going to release, and like in a smart contract, I believe it's going to be like interoperable between PulseChain and Ethereum. So even if you have and are purchasing Ethereum coins today, whether it's Hedron or Icosa, you'll be able to interact with the new contract when or if that does come out with whichever coin you have. For example, I believe in the HSI markets right now, they're two separate entities. So you have HSI markets on PulseChain and you have HSI markets on Ethereum. Now, if I wanted to bid on an HSI on Ethereum, I would have to use the Hedron that's native to Ethereum. So I would have to like buy that off of Uniswap or 1inch or wherever, and then go use that eHedron to like bid on the stuff. Now with the new smart contract, I'll be able to use phedron or eHedron. So it doesn't really matter. You can just bridge it over and use it. Now the cool thing is about that too is let's say eHedron costs less than phedron and you want to bet 100 million hedron. All your betting, or sorry, all your bidding is 100 million hedron. It doesn't matter if it's phedron or ehedron. So if you just need 100 million or a billion and you need to go off market, you can just buy the cheaper version, either on PulseChain or on Ethereum, bridge it over or not bridge it over depending on where you've purchased it, and do your interactions with the smart contract that way. So I think he's gonna surprise us. He's gonna have some cool stuff planned. We're gonna get new contract addresses with new tokens, which also means a new chart. Because I know right now, like if we take a look at the Icosa chart, it's not a pretty chart. Like it's like I'm pretty sure if you showed Richard Hart that chart, he would probably make fun of it and be like, "Damn, this thing has only gone down and to the right, etc., etc., etc." There was lots of money to be made sort of in the beginning of Icosa, especially with all that yield and being so close to that ceiling price. Plus, Hex was probably 10 times more valuable as well, which makes a T-share 10 times more valuable. But I think right now it's time to sort of be contrarian. No one's paying attention to Icosa. the last update we had was sort of a little while ago, and we haven't heard much since. So I think there's some stuff coming around the corner. We'll see when Alex maybe releases his product on testnet, and we'll be able to play around with the new figures and stuff. But yeah, this Icosa stuff, like we were saying, if you own a percent of a token and it does extremely well, and if Icosa goes anywhere close to its ceiling price, you'll not only make an insane amount of X's from that price going near its ceiling price, but you'll also be able to accumulate so much yield by people being more incentivized. Doesn't mean they will automatically, but people being more incentivized to go into those HSI auctions and start trading in their T shares for Icosa. Therefore, giving people the opportunity to bid on those HSIs with their Hedron, which makes us more yield. So we'll see how the systems turn out in this bull market, but we haven't seen them in a bull market yet. So we have no real data points to really go off of in terms of bull market performance.
Dude, I'm excited for Hedron season. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming back. Like you said, a lot of people forgot about it. Not everyone, though. I mean, you're one of the few people who are still talking about it. We got Sloth. He's busy with his pH products, which understandably so. But we still got plenty of people who are interested and know about it. And man, it feels like there was so much to talk about before, but it has been that slump of, prices down. There's new stuff coming out. Everyone's getting preoccupied. But I love what you say about just being, hey, everyone's forgotten about it. That's I don't know. That feels bullish to me. When people have forgotten about something that's great, that feels bullish to me.
Exactly, and that's the whole thing. Is I guess in crypto, if you're sort of if you're following the crowd, everyone kind of knows like the saying, like if you go with the crowd, like you're gonna get wrecked. And usually the crowd is the one like buying the tops in the bull market, or calling for $100,000 Bitcoin at $69,000 Bitcoin. But sort of the contrarian plays and the things that you wouldn't expect can and have in the past been, like, look at Shiba Inu or look at Dogecoin. Those coins, like if you asked or if you told someone back in like 2020 Dogecoin's going to make an insane new all-time high, Elon Musk is going to tweet about it, it's going to be this big thing, everyone's going to be talking about it, I would talk to like random people who had purchased Dogecoin because they thought it was fun. Like this was like a good day for it. I'm like, let's have some fun buying some Dogecoin. So yeah, that sort of stuff, like Icosa, it is full of complexities, right? So it's not like a Dogecoin where you purchase it for fun, but it's Icosa's DeFi, right? So there's intrinsic values based off the T-share. We also over here, we love Hex. I like Hex a lot. We were just talking about Hex last stream, I think, and it did extremely well, especially the E-Hex. So I mean, these things can surprise you. I remember seeing all of the comments and all of the trash and all the bashing EHEX. I had seen people saying, it looks like the market has chosen PHEX. I think Richard also said, like, it looks like the market has chosen PHEX. And you had all the EHEX FUD. I even got a little bit of FUD from EHEX myself, but it was so cheap relative to Pulse and the whole ecosystem. It was almost not a no-brainer, but it was almost a no-brainer to just keep on paying attention to that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's never really, the EX versus PX never really bothered me or concerned me. I think T-shares are T-shares. I pick them up where they're cheapest. However, I do favor PX overall, but I mean, when the ratio is going down so far or things are so cheap, it's like it's the only thing. Yeah, it feels good to see that, the staking and unstaking, all the cheap fees I don't even like to use Ethereum. I avoid it as much as I can. However, when I go to PulseX and I type in like how much, I want to buy some Hex. I type in how much PX I can get. I see a number. I type in how much EX I can get. I see a number. I'm like, I feel a little compelled to do EHEX because it's so much cheaper. I get so much more for it. So.
And like Richard says, like he would like to see Hex expensive on both chains, and I would like to see Hex expensive on both chains. I don't think we have to like pick and choose maybe some people would prefer to like have the PX just because of the lower fees. I also agree. Like I've moved most of my stuff from Ethereum over to PulseChain just because like this is the gas fees are really getting out of control. It's not really like a big issue if PulseChain doesn't exist because it's like I'm not gonna go over to Solana and start transacting their DeFi, but if PulseChain's right there, like one click of a button or now two clicks of a button away, um, I might as well like bridge over and use that network, right? And even Pulse Chain right now is I think it's extremely undervalued, even relative to like Hex and stuff. Like I think Pulse Chain's kind of it's not slagging behind, but it is kind of like uh, last time Hex was at a penny, Pulse Chain was over SAC, right? EHEX and EHEX had that insane run up over a penny, and Pulse Chain only I think it only made it to like 70% SAC. So I mean I'd like to see Pulse Chain kind of start to like take the throne and start moving the markets up. But I'll take EHEX because I was pretty loaded up on that stuff before as well. So it's all good, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to see price go up as well, but I have no expectations such thereof. So it doesn't bother me when I literally don't even look at the price these days. I mean, I've been so busy with the websites and IPFS stuff that I don't even look at the price. So I checked it a minute ago when you talked about, like, oh, things are a little bit down right now, but I don't even check. I
Yeah,
tell what I say all the time is like, why do I care what the price is unless I'm trying to sell? Why do I care what it is? Unless I'm trying to sell or borrow, why do I care what the price is right now
exactly, guys.
in this condition?
And I think right now you could be everyone should just be like screaming buy at each other. Like I think we're technically maybe in the bull market. Like if you look at Bitcoin, it's 100% off of its lows. Usually when it's 100% off of its lows, it doesn't go on to make a new low. So maybe our ecosystem does, but I don't think Bitcoin will. Now I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen over at the Federal Reserve, but I know they have like a meeting coming up in the next couple of weeks. We'll see what that does to Bitcoin. But I think I think right now we're in the what is it like 2019 or 2020 of crypto of last cycle. So if you were purchasing any time through 2019, 2020, you were pretty much solid for the bull market, right? There were so many people. I was watching a bunch of Richard streams, and they were just getting mad at him for not telling them to buy more. And I think there's gonna be people here. I see this all the time where no one's paying attention to EHEX. No one likes EHEX, and then it goes up 350%, and then all of a sudden I go on Twitter and everyone loves EHEX again, and EHEX is the best thing ever. So
Either
you
that or
know,
they're like, stop buying, that they get even madder. They double down. They're like, stop, you're wrecking the ecosystem.
yeah, they get mad that the price has gone up, but you never know. You never know nowadays. I like to say we're in the depths of the bear market, but we really aren't. It just sort of feels that way because of the pulse chain ecosystem. But I think next year, I think we were talking about this last stream where things can turn around on a dot, and that's absolutely true. And I think the pulse chain lows could be in. I don't know if it'll make a new low. Maybe if Richard gets like thrown in jail by the DOJ or SEC like does something crazy, then maybe something happens. But I'm looking around. I'm not even fudded by this court case, to be honest with you. I'm not fudded at all by this court case. Like it doesn't bother me at all. I think that the SEC. It was funny in Richard's telegram in Richard's like I don't know if it was a telegram call, but that voice thing he had, the voice call he had that was posted everywhere. He
The
was talking
podcast.
about yeah, the podcast will Gary Gensler ever win a case? There's like that whole article posted. So like I mean this guy is getting trashed left, right, and center. Like I don't think anyone in the industry of legacy finance even likes the guy Gary Gensler. So we'll see what happens to him. I think I don't know exactly what will happen with the court case. I don't know what they're going to do to Richard. I'm not really going to speculate on all that, but I'm not too worried. And I think Richard has some of the best talking points. And when or if he gets back on stream, we're just all going to be amazed about like all this new knowledge and all this new like I guess things he has to say because he's gonna have his whole shebang. I hope whenever Pulse Chain or whenever he's back on stream after like this whole like Pulse Chain SEC thing blows over.
Chat, would you take a day off work? Would you take a day off work, school, or otherwise? If Richard's like, hey, going live soon, I think I would cancel all plans. I'd be like, I don't care what's going on unless somebody's dying or something. I'm in front of that computer. I'm watching him.
Yeah, and I think he like no expectations of profit from the work of others, of course, right? Like even when we're talking about with Alex here building new products, like there's no expectations of profit from the work of others. Alex doesn't even have to release a product. He might not even release a product. But Richard Hart, I think I think it, he's gonna surprise us, and I think like we were saying earlier, prices are gonna go they go a lot lower than you expect and a lot higher than you expect. And if you were to predict the pulse chain catalyst for Hex doing a 10,000x, you would have been looked at crazy. And even if you look at sort of like a basic analysis, like Hex dropped to 4 zeros and a 5 6. I believe it was 4 zeros and a 5 6, and pulse chain dropped to 4 zeros and a 3 2, or somewhere close to there. So I'm not saying pulse chain is going to run up to 30 cents or 32 cents, but that's sort of the same price appreciation Hex had. Now, could pulse chain go to 3 pennies? Right? Go look at the gas fees you're paying and then multiply it by like 3 pennies, and it's more expensive, but it's if the network fills up and people find a lot of value in pulse chain in the bull market and the DeFi is just going crazy, we could see some stuff really take off, and I think people are going to be extremely surprised. And I think there's going to be a lot of people who kind of like are just wanting to get out on, like, let's say if 10x now and just recoup their losses and just exit the system. But I think people are going to be surprised in this bull market for what actually happens. But of course, like there's no expectations of profit from the work of others. So
Good problem to have. The gas fees, the dip catchers talked about it a lot too. It's like I want high gas fees eventually. I mean, it's a good
I want
problem.
high
You
gas
need,
fees. Yeah,
yeah, like we can solve it in a lot of other ways, either tech wise on the L1 or doing pulled stuff or whatever it is. But like if we don't eventually, if it isn't valuable enough to call us high gas fees, that means we're not doing as many X's as we would like to do. So quick
exactly.
question. It's been here for a while. Wallets, yeah. Rabby, Internet Money, stay with MetaMask, wait for RH. What? Get anything on that?
Yeah, so I could go over that quickly. I mean, I don't use any of like the Rabby or Internet Money. I personally am on the MetaMask, and I have how I'm doing things and how I sort of like recommend people is like you want to have like a plain MetaMask that's sort of secure. Obviously, don't screenshot your seed phrase or anything like that. I do some of my transactions over there and then just send the coins over to a cold wallet like a Trezor, right? So I don't like to keep my coins just on like a basic MetaMask. I'll usually always send it over to a Trezor or Ledger, and if I need to move those coins, I'll just use the Trezor or Ledger as like a send and receive device, pretty much only. Like I won't be signing contracts or doing anything on those devices. So if I think just stay with MetaMask if you can. Get a Trezor, put your funds on the Trezor just to hold them safe. But waiting for the RH wallet, I think is going to be a play, and uh, I'm definitely going to get the RH wallet. I think he has something planned for the RH wallet that's going to surprise us. That could be like a catalyst for the price going up. That's sort of just speculation though, but I think he has something planned for sure.
It'll be interesting. I always thought, hey, eventually we're going to see RH Wallet, and now everything's going decentralized. Great segue too. Since we only got a few minutes left here, that's kind of. I wonder if we do get a wallet, will it be like a MetaMask fork, or will it be some kind of decentralized version of it? That'll be interesting too. I don't know. I think all the IPF stuff has made me rethink a little bit of the wallet, but yeah, anything on that?
I think I don't really like MetaMask a whole lot, to be honest with you, and
Yeah.
I
Nobody
see
wants to
like
use it. We just
I
kind of,
don't
I
want to
mean,
use it
everyone
sadly.
uses it. It's the easiest way to onboard. It's, I don't like to mess with where my money is. I like
Exactly.
tried and true. I hope the community
Battle
wallets knock
tested.
it out of the park. But yeah, it's just like one of those necessary evils for me right now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I'm not very good at like the whole like code or like like security or anything like crypto security. I got a bit like the whole like computer security or computer science. I'm not really an expert on any of that stuff, so I'm not sure how Richard is gonna build this wallet. But I think However, it does work. I hope it's a lot better than whatever MetaMask has going on, and I have good hopes for it. Like I think he has good devs. PulseChain, the network, we've seen a couple of errors here and there on like PulseX, like a couple of small few things, but I think PulseChain, the network, is really polished down. Like I think I like that network a lot. I haven't really seen any issues with it.
100%
I
uptime.
always 100% uptime, and I think I would like PulseChain to become a really like staple name in the crypto industry. And if we could see that PulseChain get listed on exchanges, that could be maybe a lot more likely than like Hex or like Hex on Ethereum, just because the whole layer one narrative is a lot more easier for people to understand, especially a decentralized layer one narrative, right? Because it's like, I don't think it's that expensive for a validator right now. A
12,
couple
1200
thousand
bucks, something like
bucks.
that.
Yeah. So you can purchase these validators like nothing and run your own node, right? Transact your own transactions through your own node, pay yourself your own fees, and no one can stop that from happening. So that's a sort of a good narrative to have. I think if in the bull market, if exchanges pick up on this stuff, there could be something huge, and maybe we become sort of like a not a layer two scaling solution for Ethereum, but like a layer one scaling solution in a way where like if Ethereum, like if those gas fees really get out of control, I'm sure our Pulsicans will be screaming from the rooftops to like get on this network and transact with all the same tickers.
Pulse is worth way, and you'll have the people. Pulse is worth way too much. No, I was promised cheap gas fees. I think we'll like see some people be like mad about the gas fees when the Pulse chain price goes way up. They're like, well, did you just get here? Are you just buying it now? Like that's how can you be mad? Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah,
sorry, we're running out of time though. I know we wanted to cover. Damn it, we wanted to cover the movie. Did you watch the movie last night? By the way.
I got it. Yeah, I got it as soon as it came out. I had watched it. I think I liked that movie a lot. It was a pretty balanced movie. It was entertaining the whole way through. I thought like I did not like get bored. I didn't think like let me click off and like go check this. Like I was entertained the whole way through. I
Oh
think
yeah.
it was not biased at all towards like Richard or Richard being a scammer or anything like that. I think it was incredible. I really liked the final, I guess you could say, bit of the movie a lot more than like the first sort of bit of the movie. But I think it was also filmed at the top too, so there's a lot of like you could see a lot of the euphoria in the movie, like a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
euphoria, which was awesome to like see again. And I think I wish it could have been more of a better onboarding tool, but I'm not sure if it is like the greatest thing to like onboard someone with.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is entertaining, and I'm probably gonna show it around to as many people as I can, just because I think it's a really good just produced movie.
Yeah, I agree on the onboarding. I watched it for the second time. I watched it when it was in theaters, and then I watched it yesterday. And it's funny when you watch it the second time, the little things pick up on they're interesting. And I agree on the onboarding. It's like, I had a friend who watched it with too, and I asked after the movie, like, hey, what do you think? I showed him Richard's videos, all his self development, all that stuff beforehand, and I was like, just to give you a little bit of context, so you just don't immediately think the guy's a scammer, all this stuff. Showed him all that. Then we watched the movie, and then throughout it, he was definitely intrigued. But he was like, I'm trying to think what the reaction. He was basically like, um, funny enough, he picked up on the OA. He picked up on what's his name, the Nomics guy, talking about that. He was like not concerned over the OA, but he was like that was a factor of like, oh, I thought it was supposed to be decentralized, all this stuff. And of course, there's a million layers. I could literally sit there and debunk every single thing that he or anyone else come up with because we've heard all arguments. You can do the same
Yeah,
thing. But it was funny that was the one thing that we talked about most afterwards, which was the OA. And I was like, that's how it protects the supply. That's why BlackRock can't come in and do all this stuff. And that was the one thing to take away. Other than that, we also said he said it felt like when you're buying Hex and PulseChain that you're betting on Richard. That's
yeah.
another takeaway he got, and I was like, interesting. I mean, I could see how that could be the perspective. Like, I don't totally feel that way. Like, it's not like one to one, obviously. And now decentralization, it's not at all, really. Other than, I mean, if he never does another interview again, I don't think that affects the hex price. Like, why would it? We're all building here. We're all doing pulse chain stuff. But that was another takeaway. Was like he thought he correlated Richard with that. I wonder in the next one if there is a next one, the next movie, next docuseries, whatever, and it lays a lot of stuff out, gets more up to date, all that covers all the new stuff coming out. Will it still feel the same? Will people watch that, the continuation, the second part, if we have that, and then think different, not correlate Richard with the product as much? That's my. I wonder if that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think I would like to see a part two. I feel like there is missing a part two to that movie. We had it kind of like you had it filmed in the bull market, you had it sort of end in the depths of the bear, and I think a part two, and we'll see sort of how they frame that, and we'll see how PulseChain does if they actually end up filming a part two. But I think it'll be very interesting to see if they do come out with some, right?
Yeah, I think they. I mean, there's plenty of footage. There's plenty of stuff that was in the trailer that wasn't in the movie either. So I
Yeah.
think they have plenty. And if I were just to imagine, if I was, if I was producing this stuff and all that, I would be like, okay, let's make the movie with all this stuff. Let's keep all the stuff we have. Let's make more stuff, and then for the next parts, because there's plenty more of the story to be told. So
I think a lot of things have changed since that movie was filmed, right? Like we're in a different spot now. We're about to like enter this new bull market as well. So I think yeah, we'll see, man. That's very interesting.
all right. Yeah, that's, man, there's so much stuff we could talk about, so much going on. I'll just mention IPFS briefly.
Yep.
There's a bunch of stuff. Stuff's been decentralized. I know if you've been watching my channel, you've seen it. Anyone else's channel, you've probably seen a lot too. I put up the link here too for the project I've been working on. Go realdefi.com if you're interested for onboarding. Otherwise, it's a one-stop place. You click on it. It basically shows you the decentralized version in another website that has a pretty URL. One click, no more clicks, all that stuff. So that's where I've been trying to contribute in that direction. Yeah, briefly, let's go out on that. Like, what do you think about the decentralization and onboarding?
I think I personally like this new decentralization, and I don't know why we didn't have it like sooner. I wish that like maybe if Richard like beforehand really I don't think it like really processed, because like that this I think it's because of the whole SEC thing. He's sort of like distancing himself, like really like you guys, like you can clearly see like we don't need Richard to run the code. We have the code on our computer, right? So I think one of the things about Hex was the front ends for me. I knew that the front ends would be completely fine, and one of Richard's talking points was the 100% uptime he would brag about, and I knew I could use the Ether scan if I ever needed to do a front end. But I always, even with the Icosa stuff, like I was figuring out how to like use the Ether scan to like run those transactions and stuff like that. But I think personally, I really like this, having my own code, having my own server on my own computer, that I don't have to trust a website. I can verify on my own by myself, to know that what I'm interacting with. Plus, if that website does go down, or if the FBI seizes it, or something bad happens, like you can still interact with the code. And I think this is probably one of the best things that I could have like asked for, that I didn't even know was possible. Like I did not know you could just run it from your desktop like that, but I really do like that a lot. I watched your debate with KDP and Goldkey. I could really see where he's coming from, and I personally like complexities. Like I don't really mind them at all. I'll just figure it out and just like work with it. But I know a lot of people like they don't like complexities, and like the more things that you just don't understand, they'll just click off. Like it's too much work, right? So
Friction.
yeah, exactly. And even I heard KDP talking about sending people to app.icosa.pro, and I've done the same thing, where I had a couple of onboards and I sent them to Icosa, and I even got them to stake some Icosa as well, because I explained like this and that and this and that, and they could see like, oh yeah, like this is it's basically a leveraged play on Hex, speculating, right? So yeah, I think the front ends I think they're a wonderful idea. If Richard kept the regular front ends but gave us an opportunity to download it, that would be cool, but not really necessary. One last thing too is I was farming on a DEX on a different layer one, just completely unrelated to our ecosystem, and the regular front end, basically I got hacked, or had a vulnerability, and someone was able to change up the smart contract. So instead of swapping a coin and receiving it back into your address, you would receive it into someone else's address. So you were just swapping coins into someone else's wallet. Now the IPFS link did not go down. It was not unaffected, completely fine. I didn't interact with the IPFS at the time, but I know that that front end still worked. Whereas the regular, I don't like, it's a HTTPS front end. I don't know if that's how you describe it, but just the regular
Sure.
front end, um, it went completely down and it had a vulnerability. So I think that the IPFS stuffs are good because you not only you can trust, you can verify the hash and make sure that you're interacting with the same one every single time, and there's not this issue of vulnerability. So I personally think it's a good idea. Yeah, there is a little bit more friction when onboarding, but I think if you could just explain like app.icosa.pro, it has everything there, and even I like to explain the whole Icosa stuff, so it works out for me.
Yeah, man, it's been a whirlwind, a lot of confusion, and yeah, the community's been stepping up to try to figure this out, either sending people to app.icosa or doing other landing sites and stuff like that. So interesting times. I'm glad we all have some other drama to go figure out and work together. It's always something. Every 2 weeks there's a new thing, but it doesn't kill us, makes us stronger. And boy, we got a lot of people out here that like Hex and like PulseChain. So I think we think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I think we got actually the best community in all of crypto, and probably one of the most educated communities in all of crypto as well. So
Definitely.
I think there's a lot more room to grow here, and I think in the bull market we're gonna see a lot of people come into this ecosystem, and see value here, especially on the Pulse chain.
I think so too. We got to be ready for them. I think we're getting ready.
Yeah,
CryptoCon, where can people find you? YouTube, Twitter.
yeah. So my YouTube and Twitter handle are at CryptoKong145. You can find me over there. I just focus on mostly like the whole DeFi. I like to specialize in Hedron Icosa. That's pretty much all. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Sweet. Everyone, go check out his stuff. Especially, you did a lot of spreadsheets and content and otherwise with Hedron Icosa ecosystem, and of course you creating content on your side, and every time you come on, you say some cool stuff about Hex and PulseChain too. So always good to have you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me, man. Always good to be here.
Of course, of course. Everyone else, Scivive and 5555. We are out.